Welcome to the Startups Without Borders podcast. I'm Valentina Primo, and I'm the founder of this platform, this community, and this movement for entrepreneurs who are starting new ventures while starting new lives. Each week, we'll be sharing inspiring interviews with the most audacious startup founders while highlighting resources for anyone starting up. Gear up to get some real-life advice. You're listening to the Startups Without Borders podcast, episode 7. I'm really excited about this episode because we partnered up with Arcast, an incredible podcast production house in Egypt, who took over the entire Startups Without Borders Summit to interview the speakers, the investors, and the hustlers gathering at this massive conference last November 8 and 9. In the first episode of the Summit series, our partners Abdullah, Mariam, and Hazem take a tour across the panels, the networking hubs, and the halls of the American University in Cairo to interview the fierce entrepreneurs and industry leaders that inspire the audience for those 2 days. Thank you so much to Abdullah from Arcast for producing the entire series.
There are more than 1.7 billion people are unbanked around the world, which means that they don't have any access to any bank accounts. They can't get any credit history to get a loan or anything. My name is Hassan Hijazi. I work as a storytelling and impact at Kiva.org.
Can you tell us what that is?
So Kiva.org is a non-profit micro-lending organization based in San Francisco. So basically the model of Kiva is there are more than 1.7 billion people are unbanked around the world, which means that they don't have any access to any bank accounts. They can't get any credit history to get a loan or anything. So in order for you to support these people, you need to find another source of income for them. Many of them, they have great ideas. They have great let's say, ideas for new entrepreneurships and businesses to start. So for them to get the money is a challenging thing, especially that, as I mentioned, they don't have any credit history or any bank accounts. What Kiva does is that we bring these people through our microfinance institutions, our field partners in different countries around the world, to apply for a loan through Kiva. The great thing about it is that people actually lend people. So there are lenders from around the world, from the US, from Europe, from Jordan, from the Middle East, from Asia, that lend these people to start their businesses. It starts from as little as $25 and then up to $1,000, and it depends on the loan. Also, the loans are from, let's say, from $150 to $2,000 tops, because it's a micro loan. Another interesting thing is that you don't actually give the people, like, you don't donate the money to them. You just lend it to them, and they give you back the money later on. So let's say that you give $25. In 12 months, let's say, for an example, they would give you back the money, and you can relend it again, and so on. So you actually don't give them the fish. You actually teach them how to catch it.
That's so interesting, and I have 2 really big questions about the whole business model you just told me. So first of all, you're targeting the unbanked. So who are the unbanked? Are they refugees? Are they high-risk people? Who are these people who don't have bank accounts, and where do they come from?
That's a great question. Basically, many people are unbanked because of many reasons. Some of them are refugees. Some of them don't have actually identity. Some of them are excluded from their community or minorities. So these are the ones who don't have any bank accounts or don't have any access to credit or to get credit history. The refugees are our main people that they actually don't have. Because banks see refugees as risk, that they're not going to pay back their loans. And that's a huge challenge for them. But after studies that Kiva started, the repayment rate by refugees is 96%, which is great. So these are the people that we actually target.
All right. So let's turn the lens into what's happening today. What are you doing here today? What's the importance of you being here? Why is it important that you participate?
So, as I mentioned, I work as in storytelling and impact. Before that, I used to work for Save the Children and with the Norwegian Refugee Council. And my job is actually to get the stories and to write them down. And because without any evidence, you can't help people, right? So today I am here. I was invited to come to Cairo today to speak to all of these entrepreneurs and tell them how they can find alternative financial solutions, right? So we have a program called Direct Social Enterprise, where entrepreneurs can actually apply for a loan through Kiva directly, not through any other partners, right? So what they do is that they apply, and of course we have a criteria for that. First of all, they have to get to be a registered company in the country. They have to have a bank account for the company, not as a personal bank account. The loan starts from $10,000 to $100,000, but at the same time they have to have an evidence of $100,000 of revenue that they present to us, and that's then we actually do the due diligence and we do the vetting, and then we decide if we should give them the loan or not. One more time again. We're not the one who give them the loan, the people who give them the loan, and the people who actually take the risk.
All right. Thank you so much, Hassan. Is there anything you want to add?
No, thank you so much. I'm looking forward for tomorrow, guys.
Today, there's more forcibly displaced people than there's ever been in any time before. And the humanitarian organizations, the traditional responses just aren't enough to deal with this crisis. And so what we're trying to do is to bring the private sector to bear, and in particular the finance sector to bear, to bring interested capital in together with refugee investments. And we're really finding a lot of interest on both sides. I'm Tim Docking, and I'm here from Washington, D.C. Happy to be in the Middle East, and in Cairo in particular, at this great conference. I, in this position, lead, along with a colleague of mine, the RIN, the Refugee Investment Network. And what the Refugee Investment Network is really set up to do is to be a connective tissue between interested capital on the one hand and refugee investments on the other. And as you can imagine, we have to do a lot of connecting, a lot of definitional work to bring these two parts together.
And why do you focus on refugees in particular?
Today, there's more forcibly displaced people than there's ever been in any time before. And the humanitarian organizations, the traditional responses just aren't enough to deal with this crisis. And so what we're trying to do is to bring the private sector to bear, and in particular the finance sector to bear, to bring interested capital in together with refugee investments. And we're really finding a lot of interest on both sides.
And how is that working in general in the Middle East and in specific in Egypt?
Well, what we're finding is that there's pent-up demand on both sides. There's a lot of capital that's on the sideline right now. Some of that is religious capital in the form of pension funds and religious investors. Some of that is in the form of impact investors. Some of that is in the form of even donors, family foundations, etc., who are well aware of the crisis and very much interested in helping. And so what we're finding is that on the other side as well, it's within the entrepreneurial capital and beyond, a great need. And so our first engagement was in Jordan. And because of some of our contacts in Jordan, what has developed out of our definitional work and our bringing these two sides together has been the formation of a $100 million fund, one of the representatives of whom is here at the conference today representing 17 Asset Management and the SDG Jordan Fund that has come into form. We're newer here in Egypt. We would love to engage here with investors and with entrepreneurs, but we're just getting started.
And how do you want things to develop further? And do you think that Egypt, I mean, there's so much talk right now that Egypt is this hub for entrepreneurs and people with startups. So how do you want to go forward? And do you think that what people say is actually true?
Well, what we see is that if people apply our investment lens, and our lens isn't that complicated, but it's a way of seeing the marketplace and segmenting the marketplace. So just in brief, we've come up with a taxonomy of 6 different sorts of investments that create a real intentionality to help displaced people. So in brief, the first sort of investment would be a refugee-owned investment. The second one would be refugee-led. The third would be refugee-supporting, etc. We break down in 6 different levels sorts of refugee investments, and we're confident we can find and identify those sorts of entrepreneurs and enterprises in Egypt as well, because there's a large displaced population in Egypt as well. It's not like Jordan, but there is a lot of displaced people living in Egypt right now. And so what we would like to do is to help identify and create intentional investment to help those sorts of organizations and individuals attract capital and grow.
All right, let's shift the lens a bit. So we're here at Startups Without Borders Summit. And you're here. And what do you want to achieve with your presence all the way from Washington, D.C.?
Well, first of all, I want to learn. I want to learn more about Egypt. I want to learn more about the entrepreneurial community and the startup community here so I can bring those lessons into our own learnings and practices. In the second instance, I want to spread the word about the work we've done, the definitional work, the attention to refugees in particular, displaced people, and to attract capital. We want to be the center of the universe for refugee investing at the RIN. And so we want to socialize this. We want people to understand the investment lens and that this is a market. These are investable individuals and enterprises that are very worthy of consideration and further investment. And so those are some of the goals I have coming here.
All right. Is there anything else you want to add?
I'd just like to thank you and thank all the people here for their interest in entrepreneurship. We think that entrepreneurship is just really important to get the incubators, the accelerators funded and out there so that we can really engage people locally in a more global sort of economy with a particular focus on displacement.
There is a challenge in accessing finance in general for startups, but I'd say more specifically for social enterprises. There's a misconception that social enterprises have a lower rate on return and they focus more on impact rather than financing. So this misconception is why we're here today and why we're addressing impact investing so that we can help these startups unlock new opportunities for funding. Hi, I'm Felicia Mota, the Innovation Lab Coordinator at the United Nations Development Programme.
What exactly is the Innovation Lab?
So in 2014, we founded an innovation lab in the UNDP. The idea is to mainstream innovation within our own portfolios in UNDP, but also to work on innovation with the government for them to improve the efficiency of their programs and their interventions. And more recently, we've had a focus on entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship specifically.
And you're here today at Startups Without Borders. So why are you contributing?
Startups Without Borders focuses on entrepreneurs that come from very diverse backgrounds, they've had a lot of challenges to reach the point where they are, and yet they are great innovators and they have fantastic ideas that address social challenges and try and improve and develop and essentially support their home countries, but also to integrate refugee communities in their newly placed homes or environments. So the reason that we're here is that we're trying to work on an access to finance program at UNDP. It was specifically within the Innovation Lab to help startups that have a social impact unlock and leverage their impact to access funds.
You said social impact, and I want to know, do you mean social impact because they're refugees, or do all of the startups that you're interested in have to do with something that has social impact in a way? Is it just their status as refugees, or is it the actual startup that interests you?
We're actually looking at the actual startup, so not specifically the founder or the. It's more about the idea and what the startup is addressing. So we are specialized in ideation camps as the UNDP Innovation Lab, where we work with entrepreneurs across all governorates in Egypt to help them ideate and come up with solutions that address the development challenges within their areas. So we're more focusing on the impact that their startup is contributing rather than the founder themselves.
How do you think that startups that have refugees or high impact, any of the above, how are they doing with funding so far? Is it easy? Is it hard?
There is a challenge in accessing finance in general for startups, but I'd say more specifically for social enterprises. There's a misconception that social enterprises have a lower rate on return and they focus more on impact rather than financing. So this misconception is why we're here today and why we're addressing impact investing, so that we can help these startups unlock new opportunities for funding. And essentially rid them of this burden that they're more socially driven, but the fact that you can be both socially driven and as well achieve financial results.
There are different opportunities and a lot of initiatives ongoing. When we talk about solutions is also opening more areas and field for individuals to express their ideas, their hopes, but also to enhance their skills in areas that then can create resilience.
So, speaking of telling the real story, I am holding a booklet called Al-Rihla, or The Journey, and it's an illustrated novel in Arabic. Can you guys tell me a bit more about it?
Yes, Telling the Real Story project actually started trying to raise awareness with the communities. The particular element of this project is that it's not a UNHCR or an external individual talk to the community. It's actually a project to enhance intra-community dialogue, refugee-to-refugee communications, in order to alert about the risk, initially about the risk of irregular movements, for people to take the informed choices and decision on their lives. But then the project went beyond just alerting about the risks, also trying to identify and inform people about opportunities. That's the reason why we are here, co-actually hosting this amazing initiative that is expected to bring together idea, hopes, opportunities for refugees, meeting possible investors, and to make sure that also there are opportunities for becoming entrepreneurs themselves, especially through the methodology of our project, which is a methodology based on storytelling and how telling the real story can actually inspire other people or alert people about possible risks as well, but at the same time also inspire and give opportunity for more entrepreneurship in terms of using their own story as a content.
Well, so you guys are here to gather stories for other initiatives and to inspire other people. Did I understand that correctly?
Well, the reason why we're here is to, just as Daniela said, is we would like to share the approach that we have for telling the real story, using storytelling as a way of reaching out to communities. So ideally, for instance, a workshop that we'll be leading tomorrow is giving a concrete example using telling the real story as a best practice for entrepreneurs who have ideas that, for instance, they'd like to reach out to specific communities of refugee communities and so on. What are the considerations that they need to put in place? They need to know their target audience. They need to know the languages that their audiences speak. They need to know where their audiences get their information. They need to know what when it comes to information, what it is that their audiences trust, and so that they can be able to launch their ventures in trustworthy spaces that the community resonates with. So sort of highlighting how we have been able to launch this innovative project in reaching out to communities, because it is not just a copy-paste. You have to tailor-make your idea to suit a population. So ideally, part of the reason why we're here is to be able to share the project as a best practice for reaching out to different communities.
But also, as you mentioned, connect with people, trying to identify some stories that can be inspiring for other people, in order also to expand our volume of testimonies that we've been collecting with the new stories of people that had taken certain experience, and they can support and inform others.
So, what is the importance of this event with what you're trying to do, other than trying to expand your network and get other stories? But why is this event important, and how does it link to you and your project?
I mean, this platform is very innovative and is very inspirational. So for us, as I mentioned earlier, it is an opportunity for refugees as well to have their ideas, their dreams into motion with the support of investors, so that solutions and more solutions can actually be created, initiated to support the refugees wherever they are, on move, particularly wherever they move.
Does the UNHCR help refugees with all the different difficulties and obstacles that they have as entrepreneurs trying to go into the business field?
There are different opportunities and there are a lot of initiatives ongoing. When we talk about solution is also opening more areas and field for individuals to express their ideas, their hopes, but also to enhance their skills in areas that then can create resilience, ability to become investors, to support their families, and to use also through the creative industry some opportunities for job in the future. So there is all initiative from UNHCR at global level, but also at local level, to identify, to create more opportunities for refugees to become self-reliant and express their opportunity skills in terms of job in the future.
So tell me, guys, about your experience here today. So what have you seen so far? What did you like? What did you learn?
It was very inspirational for me to listen to, what was his name? Shakar Khalal? The refugee who lives in the U.S. right now, to listen to how, despite the number of times that he failed, he just kept trying. And that was very inspirational to us, because I think as much as in storytelling you want to share the success stories, but it's also very important to also share that the ability that people don't give up, even no matter how many times they fail, they keep trying. And for me, that was very inspirational to listen to.
Yes, I think also there is the endurance, despite all challenges, the ability to still have a hope, and the ability to put together the energy in order for something that improve their future in wherever they are. Can be in their country of asylum, country of transit, and so on. So it is very, very important for us, and also to, as I mentioned, not only to connect with people, but connect with people that can bring their story, and that we can help in amplifying the reach, so that more people are actually aware. We are not here to advise anything to anyone. We are just here to basically make sure that people are informed about opportunities, informed about risks, informed about difficulties, challenges, so that they can take a proper choice, an informed choice about what they want to do in the future, from a personal point of view, but also from a possible entrepreneurship point of view.
Well, you mentioned the obstacles and the risks and the opportunities. So what do you guys think needs to happen for the ecosystem to improve for these refugees?
I think this platform is a good initiative, trying to bring together refugees, but also investors. So there is the hope that there will be more and more attention also from investors towards idea and support to refugees, as well as any other person that might have some good idea that can actually have an impact in the labor-related environment.
I think she summarized it very well.
All right. Thank you guys so much for participating. It was great to meet you. Do you want to talk more about this?
Oh, well, this is the book you're holding, The Journey in Arabic, was inspired by one of the stories that we have collected from a refugee. And it mainly highlights how children can be exposed to wrong narratives that might enable them to make a wrong decision. A decision that they do not think it's wrong, but because of how it has been packaged. Because it's a story of a young girl who who decides to go to Europe via the Mediterranean, but she is convinced by the smuggler that it is an easy journey and there will be no problems and so on. So, I mean, the story is meant to... The focus of the story is so that children could think critically of messages that they receive and be able to, ask questions and ask themselves before they make any decision.
So is the target audience of these books to children, or who are you aiming to reach with them?
This book in particular, it's distributed in schools. And it's used to facilitate discussions. But of course, the whole community can, adults as well, and the youth can read it. But it's primarily made for children.
So schools in Egypt are now getting these books?
No, these are schools in refugee camps in Sudan, Ethiopia, and Somalia.
Oh, wow. That's great. Well, are you thinking of creating an initiative like that for Egypt?
Well, we have part of our project also is focusing on the Middle East, Northern Africa and Middle East. So maybe opportunities, maybe to create more content and to share more content that will be relevant also for this region.
And what she is doing with Startups Without Borders is just mind-blowing to me. It is incredible, the spotlight and the platform that she is providing. And the fact that I'm just so flattered and honored, the fact that she asked me to be a part of it today to moderate a panel about entrepreneurship is survival.
So what are you doing here today?
Valentina used to work at Mo4. She is one of the people who has been part of our Mo4 family that I will always be the proudest of. She was a dynamo within the company. She started out working at Cairo Scene, and then she is the one who actually built Startup Scene for us. And what she is doing with Startups Without Borders is just mind-blowing to me. It is incredible, the spotlight and the platform that she is providing. And the fact that I'm just so flattered and honored, the fact that she asked me to be a part of it today to moderate a panel about entrepreneurship is survival with Omar Noor and Omar Samra, who of course are famed athletes, adventurers, and who took on this incredible expedition of trying to row across the Atlantic.
That's so nice. Well, tell us, what do you think the importance of today is to you and for the region in general?
I think I don't think there's anyone in the region right now doing what Valentina is doing in that kind of holistic way that she does it. Because of Valentina's experience and the incredible people that she works with, Valentina brings to the table, I think, something that's very unique as a kind of holistic overview. She is, she's not just an ecosystem. She's not just a platform. She's not just a training platform. She's not an incubator. She's all of those things. Plus, Valentina is a storyteller. And at heart, that is what Valentina is. She is an incredibly talented storyteller. And so when you combine all of those things and then shine that very powerful spotlight on refugees who are struggling within the ecosystem, you really do have something very powerful with huge potential to create meaningful, impactful, and lasting change.
You like what you hear? Then leave us a review on Apple Podcast. You can also get exclusive access to all the updates, the upcoming events, and the most inspiring stories by subscribing on startupswb.com/subscribe. I'll repeat it, startupswb.com/subscribe. I'd like to thank our amazing podcast partners in Egypt, Arcast, for producing this entire season.